Hello, everybody. This is Brad Bowlingball of Apostle Games coming to you live from rainy North Carolina of the United States of America. Now that we've secured a new development studio, we've been hard at work on new features on Age of Tribulation. So come on in and let's check it out. All right, guys, so here we are in my combat test area, and today we're going to be looking at the new Stronghold update, which is a kind of a staple mechanic in Age of Tribulation. So I want to cover that. After that, I'm also going to be covering the new player armor sprites, because I want to show you guys what all I've done. When you wear a different set of armor, your character is going to actually reflect that in their little sprite character that walks around. And then lastly, and this is really the big one, I want to cover the time conversion mechanic that I undertook, and kind of show you what it's all about and why it is such a massive improvement over what we had previously. But before we get started, I just kind of wanted to briefly address the 3-month hiatus that we had to unfortunately take. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I have been a stay-at-home dad, taking care of our daughter for the past several years, and as of January, she and I are no longer living at the house, which is where my development studio was. We have had to secure an apartment, a new place to live, which of course also meant that we had to get a new development studio. And in the past, money has never really been much of a issue. And unfortunately now it is. So because I want Age of Tribulation to be my sole source of income, that obviously kind of puts a spin on things that I have to really start watching, where and how I spend and all that stuff. And, I've kind of had some thoughts being that, I do want this game to be my primary income. I have thought about maybe a Kickstarter or something along those lines. I haven't really worked out the details yet. But, right now I'm really trying to work on getting the demo out, coming up like this October, November, somewhere in that time frame. And I've had to kind of shift some stuff around. But just know that this game is being made. It's going to be made. It's going to be released. This has been a life goal and a life dream for me. This is all I've ever really wanted to do with my IT skills. And so don't have any fear that that is in any way in jeopardy moving forward. And now that we do have a new development studio, everything is running perfectly smooth going forward. Okay, so the first thing I want to take a look at here is the Stronghold update here in devlog number 17. Again, this is the combat testing area. This is my little character here. She's wearing surf armor. And so we're going to start walking around this cool little zigzag thing that I made and wait for a random encounter to pop up so I can just kind of demonstrate the new sound and the new graphics and all that stuff of the Stronghold update. And hopefully I'll pick up somebody here. All right. So we have just encountered a ruffian level 3 who decides to act first. And looks like he's going to be running Stronghold here. So as you kind of saw the graphic update when we first came into this combat scenario, you saw this new shield that came up, and he kind of, it's kind of like a marching sound, and then he hits the shield and he goes, "Rah!" He does like a little battle cry, which I think is pretty cool. And if I go down here to Stronghold, I'm going to do it as well. So you kind of hear, okay, so he's going to fire an arrow at me. So just kind of a short demonstration. Stronghold is a skill that allows you to increase your blocking ability at the expense of your destruction, potency, and finesse. And so you're going to be using that a lot whenever you start getting into trouble. And the enemies, at least the human enemies, also have that ability to do it too. And what's really cool is there's an actual real graphic now. There's an animation that plays, and the sound effect is tied to that particular character. So as you could kind of hear, we have a female character. She sounded very different than the ruffian. When other human characters use Stronghold, the sound effect is going to reflect who they are. So you're not going to have the same sound effect for everybody. So I just thought that was kind of cool. It adds a little bit of flavor to AOT. The next thing I want to show you are the new character sprite sheets that I've been working on. A big shout out to a pixel artist named Hidden One, who has allowed us to use her free base character sheets. And then we've been able to modify those and really expand on them to make them fit into Age of Tribulation. So I want to thank her for allowing us to use those. There are 9 different portraits for each character, the male and the female, for a total of 18 different portraits. And what I've done is I've made the characters' body and face match those portraits. And what's really cool is that I've used different ethnicities. So, there's like white guys, black guys, Indian guys, Asian guys, and then same for the female. So I've really had to custom tailor each sprite sheet to whatever the portrait is, which, up here is a white male with kind of blonde hair. Here's a better picture of him. And so what I've done here is I've created that with the blonde hair, and then you can kind of see his bangs that move around as he moves around, and then his flowing hair goes back and forth. And it's probably hard to see on YouTube. And what I've done here, obviously he's not wearing any armor because he's only wearing, underwear here. But if we go into the character menu and go to equipment, as you can see, there's a lot of different equipment slots. You got your helmet, you got your body, you got your belt, you got your pants, your shoes, all that good stuff. What I'm doing right now, and this is how it'll be for the demo, is that the character sprite is going to reflect whatever is inside the cuirass here. So what, like in this case, if we put on the serf's tunic, and we'll go ahead and do that now, and then we back out, then you're going to see his armor sprite sheet change. And now he's wearing the full serf's armor set. You can see it kind of walking around here. In the future, what I'd like to do, however, is actually have sprite layering, which would allow, like when he puts on a different helmet or a hat, that would be individually updated on this, on the sprite sheet. So that's the serf's armor set for the male. And then if we go over here to the commoner's garb, which is an upgrade, we'll put that on and we'll back up a little bit. And then you can see that it updates to a blue shirt with some black pants, and pretty much all of the different types of armor in the game are going to be done in this way. What I think, as I was saying earlier, what I think would be really cool is if you put on the actual helmet, then you see the helmet update, layered on top of like the serf's armor. I think that'd be really cool. Okay, and now for the female variant. Over here we have our character. Her name is Damaris, and she is a white female with blonde hair as well. And so we have that reflected here. As you can see, she has her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She's not wearing any armor, so she has like some, I don't know what kind of bra and panties these are. I guess maybe made out of leather. I can't imagine that being very comfortable, but that's what they had in the medieval times. And you can see, she walks around in her little ponytail, kind of sways in the wind, and she's got it pulled back. And, again, we have that reflected here in this portrait. Now, if we go over here to character, Damaris is going to put on her serf's tunic, and it's going to look a little bit different because it's the female variant of the serf's tunic. So she's going to be wearing a dress, and she kind of looks more like a handmaiden, someone of very low and poor, I guess, not of noble birth, if you will. But then if we come over here to the commoner's clothing, we put on the commoner's garb, and it's going to be an upgraded version of the male variant, which is going to be a blue and white dress with a black belt, using the same color scheme as what the male had, because the male had like a blue shirt, black pants, and yeah. So that's what I've done, and going back to all the different ethnicities, your character is going to actually look like your portrait, which I think is really, really cool. All right, and the very last thing I want to show you guys is the new time conversion that I did. Going back to 2022, when I first started this project, early on I wanted to have a day and night cycle. That was something I always really wanted to have because this is a survival game. And but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to have a full 24-hour cycle that counted all 24 hours. So what I did to make it a little bit easier for myself was to have time calculate in 2-hour increments so that internally the mechanic would count from 0 to 11, which is, 12 different hours. It wasn't an actual real 24-hour counter, and that worked really well back in 2022. Well, it's 25 now, and as the game has grown, it makes a lot more sense now for the internal mechanics to count a true 24-hour cycle. So doing that has allowed me to have a lot more flexibility in the different kinds of things that rely on time. And so for sake of making this a long-winded conversation, I'm just going to basically show you guys that we have Cassandra here, who, as you can see, is wearing the surf armor. And going back to what we just talked about, she's kind of like an Indian kind of ethnicity, and you can kind of see her sprite sheet reflects that. But now as she walks around and time is counting down here in the bottom right, you see 2 o'clock. Normally it would skip straight to 4 o'clock after 60 seconds. But now after every 20 seconds, it calculates by 1 hour. So we walk around and you should see, let's see here. There we go. Now it hit 3 o'clock, and normally it would have hit 4 o'clock. And this, again, as the clock progresses, this adds a whole lot of flexibility to different kinds of things, such as praying, which is a really good example. Before, you had to pray in 2-hour increments because there was no other way to really count it. And now you can actually pray in 1-hour increments, or 2-hour, or 3-hour, or 4-hour, or 5-hour, as opposed to 2-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour, or 8-hour, which again is really, really nice. This also affects the sleeping mechanic. It pretty much affects everything. And we can do so much more with a full 24-hour clock. All right, guys, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. We just covered the Stronghold update and the player armor sprites and the time conversion, which are all checkmarked off on the roadmap to the demo. In the month of June, I'm going to be showing you guys the new finished enemies and the new King's Forest and how all of that stuff works, like all the mechanics of actual combat instances. So it's going to be really, really cool. I cannot wait to show you guys that. And in the meantime, I'm also going to be creating the new 6 subclasses, which I'll get into that in devlog number 18 or 19. I'm not sure which one. It depends on how much time we end up spending on the enemies, because it's pretty expansive. So but everything's going according to schedule. It looks like October I'm going to be looking for some closed beta testers to help me before we actually release the demo, and then it looks like we are on schedule for a February of 2026 Steam release for Steam Next Fest, and I'm super pumped about that as well. And go ahead and leave your comments and let us know how we're doing. Talk to us, jump on Discord. We'd love to hear from you. Get on Steam Wishlist if you want to support this project. And we're right back on schedule, guys, and I'm so pumped to be back. And thank you for all of your support. Stay blessed. Brad out.
Audio Jungle.